Listen, I'm dyeing my hair because this is the fourth one of these I'm doing tonight, and there's enough fucking more to go to. No! No buzz. A Just Bees book club. Samuel Beckett, Waiting for Godot. Godot? I'm going to say Godot, because I've always said it that way. Even though the filmed version of the play that I watched after this used Godot as the way they pronounced it. I had never read Waiting for Godot before, and then I did, and now I've read it. I never watched it before either, and then I did, and now I've watched it. It's pretty cool. I can see why it takes a place in the canon. It's a wide open play about two men, Vladimir and Estragon, who are waiting on a mound by a tree that for an enigmatic figure named Godot, who never shows up. You probably know this. It's one of those. It's a play. It's a play that people know about. It gets referenced a lot. As a matter of fact, the reason I read this, which I meant to tease this in the What Riley Wore video that I did earlier, the first one of this set, where I mentioned that this project involves me doing one of these videos for every book that I've read this year. And there's one caveat to that, which is I don't do one for any role-playing game book I read specifically for On the Matter of Systems, a forthcoming podcast with me and my lovely co-host BW. But I bring that up because I read Waiting for Godot, because we, a few months down the line, will have an episode on a game called Waiting for Gygax. I was like, oh, this is a funny game, and to be discussed further, or has been discussed further, but won't be out until probably around April of 2023. The book was very funny, and I was wondering how much of that humor was related to Waiting for Godot in a way that I just didn't catch because I never actually read it or watched it before. It turns out very little. So reading this was not super useful for that episode, but it was a good time. I think it's a really interesting play. Like I said, I think it's canonized for a reason. It is a special thing. It came out in like 52, 53, something like that. In English, I believe, a couple years prior to that in French. French text copyright 52, English translation copyright 54. So it was originally written in French and then translated by Beckett into English. One of the things I learned from watching it is that, and then reading a follow-up article, is that it was it had a kind of a lukewarm reception. I think it originally opened in somewhere in Miami and then it went to Broadway, and it kind of got like, I think that apparently that's where it's a riddle wrapped in an enigma was actually referring to Waiting for Godot. Maybe not originally, but that's very half remembered. But the thing, at least this article argued, was that kind of the first place it got a big reception was in prisons, in San Quentin specifically. I guess pretty soon after the Broadway run, it was put on by the San Quentin Drama Workshop. Might have been the term exact. I don't remember exactly. I'll try to drop a link in the description of this article that I'm half remembering from a week ago or whatever that I read. And apparently it got put on San Quentin. It was like the first play put on San Quentin since like 1913 or something like that. And part of the reason it was put on is because it had no women in it. And that was like a stricture that was required. So there was, and apparently it was just like roundly loved, which, having read it, you can absolutely make sort of interpretive leap that it's about two men sort of trapped against their own will in a place for reasons that they have no context for, the consequences that they have no context for, as in terms of why they are there, other than to say that they occasionally say we should leave. No, we can't. Why? Well, we're waiting for Godot. It's a refrain throughout. I will say, if you self dye your own hair, don't have the first thing you do be accidentally tear a small hole in the middle of the uh, glove that they give you. It's this is going to be an absolute motherfucker to get out. Um, and yeah, so I found that because the YouTube version I watched was from the San Quentin Drama Workshop. I don't know. It claimed it was the mise en scène was directed by Godot with another director as such. Or not Godot, Jesus, Sam Beckett. And there was like some stuff in there that was a little confusing in terms of dates because I know Beckett died around 89 and like the YouTube thing says 88 in the like title, but there was like another date on there. Anyway, yeah, an interesting wrinkle that I had never heard that to my knowledge that at least according to one article that I read that should be linked below, there was sort of the this being played in a prison was actually one of the first like positive major press reviews that it got, um, and and then back to the literary canon point, it is very easy to read uh, so many things into this play in a way that I think is not just like it would be easy to read a lot of things into a thing that is about nothing, right? Uh, it is easy to read a lot of things into this because of the facility with dialogue and the sense of disconnect and import even of a lot of Dee and Gogo's discussions that like, fall into pieces and get sidetracked and stuff like that. Beckett writes interesting dialogue. And so, here's what I want to do. I am on page 28 of my edition. In addition to Vladimir and Estragon, Vladimir being Dee, Estragon being Gogo, two other characters appear both in Act 1 and Act 2 of this, named Pozzo and Lucky. The first time they appear, this is what I'm going to read from. Lucky is carrying a bunch of bags and is on a long rope, and Pozzo is sort of like driving him. And they end up stopping, and Pozzo's this like pompous shithead, and Lucky just like doesn't put down the bags, and there's a big conversation about that. After this scene, they have Lucky dance and then think, which is the command they give him, and he gets like a full like 3-page, basically a run-on sentence that's really interesting. There's a lot of interesting stuff in this play, but I'm gonna do a little thing from Pozzo. I haven't memorized it, so I'm gonna be reading. So I'll omit the stage directions except for the very first one. Are we ready? Are we ready? Okay, Pozzo, who hasn't listened. Ah, yes, the night. But be a little more attentive for pity's sake, otherwise we'll never get anywhere. Look! Will you look at the sky, pig? Good. That's enough. What is there so extraordinary about it, qua sky? It is pale and luminous, like any sky at this hour of the day, in these latitudes, when the weather is fine. An hour ago, roughly, after having poured forth even since, say 10 o'clock in the morning, tirelessly, torrents of red and white light, it begins to lose its effulgence, to grow pale, pale, even a little paler, until, poof, finished, it comes to rest. But behind this veil of gentleness and peace, night is charging and will burst upon us, pop, like that, just when we least expect it. That's how it is on this bitch of an earth. And then the conversation continues. I think that's a pretty fun scene. Love that that's how it is on this bitch of an earth is an original Sam Beckett. Delightful to read that and be like, whoa, what? I think that's a thing that people say on the internet. Did not know the provenance of it until reading Waiting for Godot. Yeah, fun play. I hope you enjoyed my scene, you who are not watching. And I thank you for that. I say, thanks for not watching.